So, a very spooky good evening, everybody, and welcome to Halloween, or I think it's All Hallows Eve, I think is the proper term. And this is our final session in our month worth of webinars celebrating all things menopause awareness. And we've done some very sensible, very good things, but we thought we'd be a little bit silly tonight just with our backgrounds, because we will talk about some really sensible things. So Jen, you know me, but we'll do some quick introductions because obviously we're recording this and some people may not know us all. So I am Jeanette Forder. My company is Phoenix Wellness Coaching. I am a life coach specializing in women's wellness and particularly menopause. And I'm also a workplace trainer. Lisa, over to you.
Hello, hi. I'm Lisa Watson. I'm a nurse by trade, so I work in the National Health Service (NHS) as a women's health nurse and menopause specialist, and I do that in my spare time as well. I also interested in cognitive behavioural therapy. I've trained to deliver this for specifically for menopause, and yeah, we have a good working relationship, don't we?
We do. We do. Friends off work and
Yeah.
also colleagues. And Emma, over to you.
Yeah, I'm Emma Goodman of Emma Fitness. I'm a fitness and wellbeing coach. I've been in the industry for 27 years, running my own business for 17. And I love working with women, or working particularly with women's health, so pelvic floor. Previously did pre and postnatal, but now I'm in the peri to postmenopausal years. That's where I find a lot of my clients are now. And just trying to simplify exercise, and my main message is that people move more.
Yeah, love it. So we bring many different specialisms together, but they all work really well and complement one another. So our session tonight, we called it Embracing the Joy of the Season. It's a kind of autumn, winter, menopause Q&A. So we're going to do a few minutes each as a panel, just talking about why embracing this time of year or any season is important to us, and particularly with our perspective on our menopause journeys. And then we will open the floor up to any questions. So I will start. So my journey through to what I'm doing now has been quite interesting, because I started my business 3 years ago, and I consider I'm probably in the summer of my business, but in the autumn, possibly winter of my menopause journey, because I am well and truly postmenopausal and celebrating it. This time of year is really important to me, and it's part of the transformation in the way that I have been growing in terms of my own awakening, my spiritual awakening, and the way that I work with my clients. I have discovered as I've gone along that the more in touch I get with nature and with the earth and the universe around me, the more I find that my journey improves. So I'll ask you quickly to think about, and we can all do this exercise, 3 to 5 phrases or words that we would use to describe this time of year. They can be negative or positive, whatever you want to use. So scribble them down quickly. Lisa's gone, oh, I haven't got a pen. I wasn't expecting this.
Out of magic. I'm a
Yeah,
witch, don't you
you
know?
are a witch, yes. Yeah, we all are, in the sense of being full of wisdom.
Oh dear. Oh.
So when I did this earlier, when I was thinking about it, I was out on my morning walk with the dog, walking through the woods, kicking up some of the dry leaves and an awful lot of the wet, muddy leaves that are out there where they've fallen off the trees, and thought, what does this time of year mean to me? And my first thoughts were cold, dark, endings. I want to say death, but that feels really, but it's an ending. The leaves falling off the trees, everything, the trees become skeletons, everything feels like it's closing down. But then when I really look around, and those of you that follow me on my personal profile will know that I've been on a bit of a fungi watch. when I go out for a walk, I have been particularly being mindful and looking at what am I actually seeing in this season. And that's kind of changed the way I view it. So I'm now seeing beautiful, vibrant colours, the colours of the leaves, oranges, reds, golds, really vibrant colours. I'm also seeing lots of bounty. I'm like tripping over chestnuts that are falling off of the trees at the moment. I'm finding acorns on the ground, all those things that are actually the seeds for the future. And the fungi is just exploding. And I don't know whether it's because we've been at a bit of a wet time in September, but it's just exploding. And I've suddenly realized that autumn is also a time of growth. So when I think about it, actually, for me, autumn and winter are a time of kind of reaping what we've sown. So a bit of the harvest. So bringing in the harvest. So focusing on the year that's gone, but also that self-reflection time and trying to find beauty in things that I maybe hadn't found beauty before. I use it very much a time to reconnect. For me, reconnecting with nature and with the earth not only grounds us, so all those anxieties that used to come up for me at this time of year are nowhere near as bad because I've got my feet firmly on the ground. I'm in touch with the seasons and I'm changing my way of living and thinking in line with those seasons. And that to me is a bit of a metaphor or an analogy for the menopause journey. So when you think about it, before you get to menopause, you're probably in the spring of your life because you're getting into that really highly fertile time, your reproductive years. Those years become your spring, summer. I think of summer as if you've become a mum, you're nurturing your family, you're nurturing yourself. That's your key caregiving years. Then as you get into perimenopause, you move kind of summer into autumn, where you really have a chance, if you look for it, to grow, to change, to transform, because all of this in autumn, things are transforming, whether it's the leaves falling off the trees and the trees becoming those beautiful skeletons that you can see when you've got that bright blue sky. I love looking up into what was that green canopy and seeing all those trees branches. It's a time to reflect, to look after yourself and to prepare for what's coming, because again, as we move into winter, we start thinking about the coming of spring. The winter solstice, I know it's a ways off, thank goodness, in December, is all about celebrating the coming of the light. So winter is our time for us to reflect, to be introspective, really to get our house in order, really a bit like the squirrel, bring our nuts in, make sure we've got enough nuts there to keep us going through this time of year. But really to think about, what do we want the spring to be? And that to me, that winter stage is our post-menopause and beyond. It's our movement into, if you think about feminine archetypes, into the wise woman stage, not the crone, although, you know, Halloween, crones around the cauldron and all of that, not a bad thing. It's your time to really tap into your wisdom. And that autumn winter stage, for me, gives me that chance to do it, because I'm looking at the seasons, I'm thinking about them differently, and I'm thinking about, what do I need to change in my life so that actually I can continue to thrive through this time. So for me, embracing the joy of the season is doing that, getting out there, looking at nature, thinking about what can I learn from nature in my own life and in my own journey, and getting back in touch with me. I always talk about menopause as one of the opportunities it gives you is to truly become yourself, truly become the woman you want to be, the woman you know you can be, and be comfortable with that woman so that you know who she is. You know what you stand for, you know where you're going. And this time of year, if you've not had that opportunity, it's that time to think about that, to grow that, And that for me is where my menopause and postmenopause has most definitely been, taking the time to do that. So I love being in the autumn and the winter and really embracing this time of year. That's my bit of my mystical journey. That's why I love this time of year. But it's good if you've written down your words, think about actually if they're negative or positive words. If they're more negative, can you switch them to positive? Can you go outside and look at the seasons changing and find the positive and then relate that back to where you are in your menopausal journey? For me, thinking differently like that was a real transformation. So I see this time of year as transformation, evolution, growth, getting ready for that reawakening. Lisa, what does embracing the joy of the season mean to you?
Well, well, we thought about. It's a time where the seasons are changing, the days are getting shorter, and it's changing our relationship with light. So this is where the medical side of me comes out, and the circadian rhythms, and our cortisol and our melatonin, and how our body is really influenced by the light and the dark rhythms. So it does mean that we have to work a bit harder, doesn't it, to really get that light into our eyes. And certainly moving into those darker months and getting outside, that makes that more important, because we really need to flood our eyes with natural light in the mornings, because that gives our body clock an instruction that this is the daytime now, and shuts off the melatonin, and it gets rid of the sleepy hormone, wakes us up, and then it gets us ready for the day. And it's so important for our mood. It really is important for our serotonin levels. And it helps to regulate your sleep, because when you give your body instruction about the light in the morning, then it sets the clock for bedtime. But we do have to kind of manipulate our light in the evening, because it can make us quite low. It can make us a bit more sleepy and more tired, and certainly I can be affected by that, because the night comes sooner, and your melatonin starts to release from the pineal gland as soon as it starts to get dark. It's a natural instruction to get ready for bed. So if you want to try and manipulate that, keep the lights nice and bright to a certain time, and then start dulling it down and getting the more, the cozy lights, the candle lights. And this is the lovely bit about the autumn, the winter. You can get cozy, put the fire on. Those natural red lights, low lights, salt lamps, candles, can really bring that evening atmosphere in, but do it at an appropriate time. And also switch off your devices, like your electronics. It doesn't help if you're reading your emails late at night, because it's giving you the wrong instructions to your brain to calm down and get ready for sleep. And that's really important if you're struggling with sleep and menopause. But we might find it easier in the winter, because it's cooler, potentially as well. Although, central heating messes that up, you can get overheated. But many people, we're going to talk a little bit about SAD, so seasonal affective disorder. Some people get quite low in the winter time, and this is simply because we're not getting enough light. So this is so important to get outside and connect with nature, like Jeanette says. Really important. That's a great way. And that will help boost your mood and help with your fatigue. So SAD or seasonal affective disorder can make you depressed, have low mood, fatigue, sort of low energy, and affect your sleep and your motivation. So we have to work a little bit harder at that. So things that you can do is really try and, although the light is changing and the days are getting shorter, try and stick to a regular sleep and wake routine. That really does help. Your brain wants a regular go to sleep, get up, wake up time. make sure you're eating healthy. We tend to go for carbs because it's comfort food. It gives you a kick of serotonin, but it's not necessarily so healthy. So really important to get your omega-3, fatty acids, so things like salmon and so things like that. Vitamin D. We get that from the sun, don't we? The most of our absorption comes from sun. Of course, in the winter, we don't get that. So you might need to supplement that. Most people in the UK have to. And if you've got dark skin, even more so, it's pretty important to have vitamin D, plenty of calcium, because that helps you to absorb it. And Emma will be able to talk about the physical fitness side of things, but physical activity is so important for your mood, and it stabilizes that sleep wake routine. And if you make it so it's part of your day, your body's expecting it, maybe not too late at night, because again, that's too stimulative. Using CBT, the words that you were saying, Jeanette, about, what describes this time of year for you? Are they negative words? Are they positive words? If they're negative, use CBT techniques to try and switch them. Exactly that. Try and turn those words into more positive or neutral words, and make connections. Really important for our mood. You tend to hunker down in the winter time because it's dark, you don't really want to go out, but it's really important that you do, and maintain that social interaction, because that really, and stress reduction techniques, maybe some yoga, meditation, perfect for this time of year. I'll move on to Emma, because you'll probably take over the mantle with the exercise side of things.
So I wanted to talk about goal setting, a couple of ways that I think it's useful to look at goal setting, particularly at this time of year. But weirdly, so I'm just going to set my timer, they're almost opposites of each other, the two I'm going to talk about. So it kind of gives you two options. You might think, no, I don't want to do the first one, I'll do the second one, which probably, when you hear the second one, will probably be more what you're drawn to. And some of this that I'll be saying repeats what Jeanette has already spoken about. So it just proves how we can all work together and complement each other as well. So I think this time of the year, and this is an unpopular choice probably, but I think this time of year is a great opportunity to get ahead of the game. So October, November, if you can get into a good habit with regards to your health and your well-being, then you enter the festive period, which can be a bit frenetic and frantic and lots of probably other F words. You enter it healthier, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. And then the plus side of that is that you're ahead of the game when New Year hits. And when everyone is setting their New Year's resolutions, you've already got 5 to 6 weeks of healthy eating, exercising, meditation, stress reducing techniques. You've kind of got that in the bank. So you're not starting from zero when it comes to New Year. You're starting a little bit further on. So it's easier to get back into the routine of Christmas. The routine after Christmas, not the routine of Christmas. You're also possibly, if you've been doing really well leading up to Christmas, so if you've been eating healthily, and I'm always saying about the 80-20 rule. So if you eat well 80% of the time, the 20% that it goes a bit pear-shaped, that's fine, your body can cope with that. And someone said just today, and I think this is really important, that we're always open to different ideas. We was talking about diets and other way, and like fitness regimes and things. And this person said that she always says to people, can you sustain this diet or whatever you're doing every day until you die? And if the answer is no, then that isn't a way to be continuing, because whatever we choose to do, whether it's exercise, whatever diets we choose to follow or nutritional regimes we choose to follow, it needs to be sustainable. We need to be able to do it for life, not just for 2 weeks here or a month there or whatever. So it's likely that if you've been good leading up to Christmas, you maybe won't be quite so eating everything and not doing any exercise as you maybe were previous years, because you've done these 5 to 6 weeks of healthy eating, you know how good you feel for it, that you may not want to, not necessarily spoil it, but put all that kind of good work that you've done, I can't think of the word to describe it, but you don't want to make that, you want to make it positive, and you don't want to turn all that good work into something sort of negative. The other way, and it's a ahead of the game thing as well with regards to menopause, and again, it's an unpopular thought, but I would really love it if people got ahead of the game with regards to menopause. So I would love it if women in their 40s started to look after their health and well-being, started to exercise according to their age now, not according to their 30s or their 20s, the age they are now. Because in that kind of 40 to 50 age bracket, there's a real window of opportunity to get your life in order in all of those aspects. And then you head into the menopause in a much stronger position, physically, mentally, emotionally. And that's not to say you won't experience symptoms, but I think you'll go into that time and you'll feel more empowered because you've tried to do what you can do to make yourself feel better. The flip side of this time of year and goal setting is that darker nights naturally encourage us to slow down and pause. That first Sunday the Saturday and the first Sunday when you change the clocks, I used to hate that Sunday, like goes dark straight away. The last, I think, couple of years, I enjoy sort of pulling the curtains, putting some twinkly lights on, like really making it cozy. So with lots of things, it is about mindset. There's a positive and a negative to most things, and you can flip that. So adding a bit of self-care into your daily routine this time of year is brilliant for blankets on the sofa, scented candles, and all of that makes you feel like hunkered down. One of you mentioned hunkered down. I can't remember which it is, but makes you feel cozy.
That's what I do.
That's really important as well. I've often said to people that you almost like get a self-care box. And so in that box is your candles, is your twinkly lights, is your blankets, is maybe a book that you like to read or a puzzle you like to do, so that when you think I've got 5 minutes, you get your box out and there you are with all your stuff that is there ready. You're not then searching around the house for all these different things. I think it's also a good time to consider what you would like to achieve in 2025 or the following year. So slowly beginning to sow the seeds, nurturing them over the winter season, and also a good time, I think Jeanette mentioned this, to reflect over what you've achieved this year and use that to propel you forwards with any new goals. So what did you achieve? What didn't you achieve? What might you have liked to achieve? And no judgment to yourself, like I've failed or whatever. Just what have you done? What might you like to tweak for the following year? And my final thought on goals, because mine is about goal setting. Setting goals is great, but I know some people who set goals and then they feel guilty because they don't achieve their goals, and that's not a positive place to be. And my thoughts of that are, if you hadn't set the goal in the first place, you're still probably in a better position than you would have been. So celebrate that rather than, I didn't get to what I wanted to. Yeah, but did you get further than where you were before? And if the answer is yes, that's brilliant. So it's good to set goals, but also to not beat yourself up if you don't achieve your goals. And with exercise, I think people get scared about exercise. For me, it's just movement. Can you move more? And this time of year, it's lovely with the colours and the different season, the different colours you get of autumn. As it gets colder, you need to move a bit faster to keep warm. So that's a plus anyway.
I'm going to bear that in mind when we're next exercising.
Yeah. Stop you looking at fungi and focus on the job in hand.
Bang goes your excuse there, Jeanette.
Yeah.
I'll find another, don't worry.
That's me, I think.
Fantastic. No, I really like that. And it's interesting that we overlap and each one builds on what the other one said. You know, I think there is self-care, looking after ourselves, taking this time to really focus on us first and foremost is really important, and we should do that through menopause. And that preparation, like Lisa's talking about our circadian rhythms, actually understanding those and the impact of light and dark on our lives, and thinking about that we're preparing for the next stage of perhaps our menopause journey or just the next stage in life. So what can you do? And I'm like with you, I much prefer, if I'm going to set goals, I set goals in September, not January, because I don't know how many times I've set January goals, and by probably, I set them on the 1st of January, and probably by the 5th of January, I don't want to do them. It's that quickly. Whereas when I sit there in September and think, where do I want to be by the end of this year? And then where do I want to be by the end of the first 3 months of next year? So doing it in small stages. And again, it's like taking each bit as a season, because nature doesn't do everything like bang, all in one go. I mean, sometimes it seems that way, but it doesn't. That mighty oak tree takes hundreds and hundreds of years to get to that stage, and takes it one step at a time. I think the other thing that's interesting is when we look at our backdrops, the colours that we're bringing out there, but also we've certainly, Emma and I, we've got pumpkins there. Bit scary faced pumpkins, but we've got pumpkins. And there's something about embracing the season in terms of what we're eating as well. So thinking about our exercise as we go through menopause, the same as you go through different seasons in the year, needs to change, because we can't do what we used to do in our 20s. So it needs to change. It needs to change in line with our circadian rhythms, because probably in the summer, when there's more light, we're going to have more energy, aren't we, Lisa? So this time of year, maybe we think differently about how we exercise, how we move, what we do, where we do it. But equally, thinking about the food, I know this time of year we can get that, go for the carbs, the high sugary stuff, that kind of comfort eating, but actually thinking about the natural ways of doing comfort eating. So all these pumpkins, my niece made an amazing pumpkin pie. It was the best. Think about pumpkin soup.
Pumpkin soup, yeah, lovely. Pumpkin
Butternut
soup.
and ginger.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Favourite.
great for immunity this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely love it. Eating those foods that are the colour of the season, but also, I would never, my mum would laugh hearing me say this, eating your root vegetables. So that is your carrots and things like that, because they're so good for you at this time of year, but also you're grounding yourself back in nature again. They're really good for that sense of stability and oneness that you kind of need this time of year, which then helps with your sad or your anxiety. So we keep coming back to similar themes. I would ask, before we kill the recording, it's going to ask one question of the two of you. What's your one piece of advice for coping with this time of year that you would give to a younger self based on what you know now?
I think it's probably easy to say, but embrace it. So what can you do to kind of celebrate it? So bring in a lady I train. This morning I went to see her, and she'd got a little pumpkin outside her house and a couple of other decorations. And her house is really right in the, like, it's not in an estate, it's kind of round a corner. And I said, do you have people come here? And she said, no, not really, but it's for me. And I just thought that was lovely, that you celebrate the seasons and celebrate the time, and maybe have your own rituals that at this time of year, like at Christmas, we get the stuff out. Well, maybe with every season we should, I'm going to get these candles, or I'm going to get these. My sister has a branch that I think they got on a dog walk, And then at different seasons, so Easter, she hangs Easter eggs off, little eggs
I
off
love
of it.
it.
And I think maybe autumn, and that, I think that would be lovely to just celebrate.
Yeah.
And this is the season we're in, right? What are the good things from this season, and celebrate that rather than, there's always a flip side, isn't there? There's always a positive and there's always a negative. So how can you flip it?
Love that, love that. And I've got a little light up pumpkin this year. My other half is always very much, no, don't do that. You want to be encouraging people. Bad things happen on trick and treat. It's like, no, that's a myth. But it's like, no, I'm getting the pumpkin, got my little bats and all that. And actually this year I bought loads of sweets because I know we've got neighbours who've got young kids. And I loved it earlier when they came to the door and the kids are dressed up to the nines. I mean, I had a werewolf and a witch. I've never seen a witch on an electric scooter, but that's obviously what it's like now. But maybe I used to see them on
It's the
broomsticks.
modern version of the broom.
But it was so nice. The parents were there, so we could chat to them. They were like, thank you for the sweets. And it's like, it just felt really nice. And I suppose, Emma, that's that thing about embracing the season or whatever. But also for me, it's don't believe everything that everybody else tells you. You know what you feel. So actually embrace, take hold of that, especially if it's positive. I mean, even if it's negative, it's still a valid feeling. But think about what's it teaching you? What can you do differently? I really enjoyed this evening seeing the kids, and I'm not at all maternal. And it was fun. And it is that it doesn't have to be this time of year isn't a bad time of year. Don't need to get all morbid, but just don't believe what everybody tells you. And that goes for menopause as well. What
I
about
was
you,
always
Lisa?
a bit, can I just, because it kind of
Yeah.
follows on that. I was always a bit anti Halloween. It's like, I don't really believe in it and I don't like going around houses. And obviously when you've got children, you sort of just find you can if you want, but you're a very unpopular parent if you say, no, we're not going out. And so we did go out, and there were so many wins. We was walking all around where we live, so there's exercise. And it was a real sense of community, and it's kind of rules now, isn't there? If you've got something outside your house, then they are encouraging you to come and knock on a door, and if you haven't, then steer away, and people generally follow that. And I just thought it, and again, this all goes back to menopause. Having a sense of community around you is so important, and that I kind of came back from Halloween each year feeling like warm and fuzzy from just some people like really went for it and really embraced the kids coming around and would have tricks, and you just think that's amazing. That's a really lovely thing to do, and we should do more of it.
100%.
Enjoy the seasons. I love this time of year, the bonfires, the smells, the lovely colours that you can get. I think embracing the season is definitely key, and working with what you've got. So we know that our light changes. We know that we're going to have shorter days, longer days, and we just have to work out how we sit within that and engage with it, so that we get the maximum from it and try and keep our routines good for our health. And going back to the bit of advice I would have given myself, I wish I knew all this back then. I really wish I knew all this back then, exactly what everyone has said. I wish I had that knowledge. So knowledge is power, and I love this time of my life where I've actually learnt a lot, and it gives me time to go into my latter phases of my life with a lot more knowledge than I had earlier on. I think it's a great time, time for thinking about what you've achieved, where you're going to go next, what you can do for next season. And I do like this time to reflect on how the year has been, coming up to Christmas, and then celebrate Christmas, and then into the new year you've got a new beginning again. And I think it's lovely, and I think, Emma, you're absolutely right. Don't leave it to New Year's Day. Don't it's too late. You should be thinking about it now. You should be thinking about what you've done, where you want to go next now, because it gets too busy over Christmas to think about those sort of things. And then if you don't plan it properly, it isn't going to happen. So
So this
yeah,
time it's calmer that you can plan, can't you?
yeah,
Yes. Yeah, because you're not naturally going to be doing as much because your days are shorter.
yeah,
So you've got that time to plan.
yeah,
And it's really important. For people that watch this on a replay or anybody else, I always, when I work with clients, tell them the first thing is to write down absolutely everything you've achieved in the past 3 months, 6 months, or the past year. However small that might be, doesn't matter. Even if it was, I managed to make some soup, which I've never done before. That's an achievement. It might not have been a goal, but it's an achievement. And you will be so surprised at how long that list is. And this time of year is the time to do that, because you can look at that list and it will make you smile. I guarantee you will smile and go, oh, good. Look at what I've done this year. And actually look back at that and go, what did I really enjoy doing? What gave me out of all of that the biggest kick when I look back? And make sure that more of that happens in the coming year. Because I always go back to doing more of what makes you smile and makes you happy more of the time is better for your health than anything else. I'm going to close the recording here so we can take it into Q&As. But for anybody that watches this when it's up on YouTube or in the Menopause Mosaic group, if you've got questions, by all means, contact us. Lisa and Emma, do you want to just shout out how people can reach out to you?
yeah. You can reach us in the Mosaic group, or I'm available as Watson Health, so www.watsonhealth.co.uk or lisa.watson@watsonhealth.co.uk as my email.
Brilliant. Emma?
Yeah, and for me, emmafitness.co.uk and email emma@emmafitness.co.uk.
Fantastic. And I am obviously phoenixwellness.co.uk, or you can follow me as Phoenix Wellness Coaching on Facebook and the other social media platforms out there, or Jeanette@phoenixwellness.co.uk. So thank you, everybody. And let me end the recording and we can then look at any questions.